Hey everybody, welcome to It by Accident. I'm Matt,
And I'm Nick.
and we've been playing Snowrunner. All right, so we've been playing Snowrunner, which is the sequel to this game, Mudrunner. This is actually the American Wilds version. I don't have a physical copy of Snowrunner because I bought it digitally when it came out, but it's also available on Game Pass with the anniversary pack. So if you're interested in it after we talk about it, it's free to play if you already subscribed to Game Pass.
Yep.
So and
It's
it's
also
worth checking out.
available on Switch.
Right. I do own it physically on the Switch, which is kind of interesting that it made its way to the Switch. At some point, I'm going to dive into it portably because I love playing this game. I mean, I play this game over and over, the same missions over and over because there's a co-op mode and
Right.
you're working with your friends on their game, trying to help them out. But
I don't know how mobily it would be because I don't know for you, but for me, it's very anger inducing. So I'd be yelling out in public quite a bit.
Sometimes. So Snowrunner, it is a driving simulator. It is basically like a delivery game, if you will. There are other aspects to the game, like competitions, trying to get from point A to point B in a hurry, or rescuing vehicles, that sort of thing. But essentially, the environment is your enemy.
Yes, you're doing it all in adverse terrain, off-roading,
Right.
pretty much the whole way.
You've got icy roads, muddy roads,
swamps,
lakes, or no roads at all.
Right.
So the game kind of starts out, pretty easy, where it's, you got like a preloaded trailer. It's like, hey, go pick up this trailer, take it to point B, that sort of thing.
Then it gives you a basic pickup truck and maybe like a highway, hauler truck, but
Right.
nothing too off-road capable.
Right. And as you progress through the game, you're essentially earning, leveling up, as well as earning money so that you can buy new trucks or
upgrades for your trucks you already have,
and that sort of thing. We've really put a lot of time into it recently, but even when the game came out in 2020, we put a lot of time into it as well.
Right.
And then rust kind of got in the way, and now I'm back on Snowrunner. So.
And that's the fun part of Snowrunner compared to Mudrunner is we played a little bit of Mudrunner, but the co-op or the multiplayer of it was more of just drop in, drop out, play around with your friends on trails. Whereas this one's a full-on co-op story mode, so you actually get to help your friends out and work together to make money and progress on your own co-op or your own single player, I should say.
To add to that is essentially like if Nick here starts a game and invites me to it, I'm essentially playing on his campaign,
right,
helping him progress through his campaign, and then vice versa. If I start it, then you're helping me. The game is up to 4 players cooperatively, and I highly recommend checking out a co-op game if you've got some friends that are willing to check out the game with you.
It can get so silly so quickly, with
Right.
pulling your friends around, or how quickly you can just get stuck. So
Sure. Or you can
fun
create like your own little competitions of getting from point A to point B,
right,
with whatever vehicle, that sort of thing. But to kind of go back to the core gameplay of the delivery, like I said, it kind of starts off pretty easy, and then it gets progressively harder, where you've got to actually like manually load your cargo, or you got to go find a trailer or buy a trailer, and then you got to pick up at multiple points and then deliver all to the same point. Or sometimes, even when you get really deep into the game, you've got deliveries that's like 2 maps over, and you've got to pick up cargo in a totally different area. So,
yeah, where one trip would be, a 30-minute drive, and you have to make 4 of those trips.
Right.
So, playing with co-op, it can make it a little easier when you have 4 people doing 4 trips all at the same time.
Sure. And you almost have a convoy of all of the cargo all at once.
Right.
And plus, with somebody like myself who's pretty well versed with the game and played quite a bit of it, put a lot of hours into it, I'm able to identify roads, especially in Alaska, because I'm about done with Alaska, where I know exactly where to go and where not to go.
Yep.
And that's the thing about this game is it's like sometimes you think that certain terrain is going to be easy to pass, and it's the hardest to do.
Oh yeah.
There's a section in Pedro Bay in Alaska, and I know you haven't discovered Pedro Bay yet, but as you enter it through the tunnel, there is a road, and it just kind of slopes down, and it's icy.
Okay.
So you have to kind of ride this like little narrow stretch where it kind of humps over. You're riding the hump to get past it, because you're just going to slide down and then tip over if you
right.
are not careful. It's not necessarily a game of speed. It's a game of patience, where you got to take your time anywhere you're going, because this game is very very difficult at times, but it's also really rewarding.
Well, and you mentioned speed. I was actually playing around it last night, and there was actually a tip on the loading screen that says, big rig tires aren't meant to go over 75 miles per hour. I'm like, it's funny that they include that tip, because most
Sure.
people are just hauling ass,
Some of the tips
flooring it.
some of the tips are kind of funny, because it'll give you like history of like trucking and that sort of thing.
That's cool.
But essentially, like I said, this is a trucking simulator, but it's done in a way where it's entertaining, where you're kind of discovering areas. That's the thing, is like, just exploring, like with your scout vehicle at the beginning of the game, and getting a layout of the map, unlocking the map, and
Yep.
getting to those watchtowers so you see the rest of the map, and then going in the swamps to try and rescue a truck so you can add it to your inventory. Or sometimes it's just a job where you got to deliver it to a farmer that went too deep into the swamp or something.
Yeah, that's probably some of my most fun times playing co-op, is all of us in our own scout vehicles, convoying through unknown territory, and then we all just kind of branch off on different trails trying to find, new areas of the map
Right.
to explore.
Hitting the back trails and then trying to find those upgradables that are kind of hidden away until
Right.
you see them on the map.
And then backtracking to save your cohorts after they get their truck flipped over, with said trails.
So this game has a lot of replayability. You got the co-op mode, of course, but then they keep adding content to this game. I think they're like in season 4 or 5 at this point. But the initial game of Michigan and Alaska, because I think that's basically the core of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing this game for I tens of hours. I mean, I'd probably say, when I say tens, I mean probably like 40, 50 hours. And I'm just now finishing Alaska, and I'm maybe at like the 25% mark of Michigan. But they've added like, territories in Russia.
Yep.
They've got other places in the United States, like there's download content for like Tennessee. So they keep adding content. They keep adding new vehicles. So if it's a game that you really find yourself enjoying, I mean, this game's kind of endless in a sense.
Now, the game is a lot of fun, but it doesn't come without a couple of flaws. We've noticed some faultiness
Sure.
with the disconnecting. You'll just pop out
Especially
of
in the
somebody's
co-op
game.
mode.
And when you're driving your own vehicle in somebody else's game, it goes with you. So then you got to drive all the way back out to where everybody's doing their job, and it's kind of a nightmare in that
Yeah.
sense. But
So,
it's
yeah,
doable,
I haven't experienced very many issues when I'm playing solo by myself, but yes, when you jump into those co-op games, I mean, I'll be in the middle of a job and I will just literally like drop out, and I'm just gone.
Right.
So if I can give a hot tip for this game, is if somebody is hosting a game, you need to use their vehicles.
Yep. That way they're right where you left them when
right.
you get
Because
booted
if
out.
you get booted out, it's going to take the vehicles you brought with you out of the game. And it's just like, at that point, it's like, man, I got to restart this job because my truck's gone.
Yep.
And I'm jumping back into the game, but I can't do anything.
And that was a tip that I had read on, I think it was Reddit, when we first started getting back into the game, was that they just recommend the host just buying multiple of the same vehicle, just so that everybody has their own version of that vehicle.
Right.
And then it just stays right where they left it. It's like drop in, drop out.
The only downside to that is the vehicles are expensive.
Very expensive.
And they're not very forgiving with, the payouts on the jobs.
And then you got to upgrade each one, with the expensive upgrades. So it's a very not cost efficient way to do it.
So another tip that I've found is when you'll discover a lot of things on the map, especially trailers. So when you find those trailers with the cargo on them, obviously use them while the cargo's there, because it will make ease of the jobs with having the cargo preloaded, because sometimes that's the only type of that cargo that you have to deliver on that particular map.
Right.
So what I found though is when you're done using a trailer, go sell it.
Yep.
Because the nice thing is they sell for what you buy them for.
Yep.
So if you sell them, you can then use that money towards another trailer you need, or it might be go towards like an upgrade on your current vehicle or another vehicle altogether. So
just try not to use all your money up so you have zero, in case you might need a little trailer or something like that to complete a mission.
But it's one of those games where you can easily just like kind of hit that reset and just sell your vehicle that you've upgraded, and then invest into a vehicle you actually need for the next job.
Exactly.
So, I mean, the game's got some weird quirks, and it's got a high difficulty level, but if you know how to manage the game in a sense of, making best use of the money, and recycling that money by selling the trailers back or reselling trucks. I mean, it makes the game a lot easier.
Yep.
And another thing is make sure that, especially if you're going to be playing co-op games after you've been playing solo, make sure you recover your vehicles and retain them.
That's another that faulty issue.
Right.
Matt's lost a couple of trucks just from getting booted out, and they just disappear.
So to give an example of that, I lost my Con, which was a little scout, like
it's a very good scout vehicle.
Yeah, it kind of
came
looks
with one
like
of the DLC packs or something like that.
It kind of looks like a Toyota FJ Cruiser.
Yeah,
in a sense, but it's a really good vehicle. It gets around just about any terrain. It's got big mud tires
big
on
old
it.
tires.
And mine disappeared after playing a session with one of our online friends. Shout out to you, Derek. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. It's his birthday today.
But anyways, it just disappeared. It was gone. I went back to my game. I tried finding it on my other maps to retain it, restore it, wherever. Just gone.
And I assume it was not a cheap scout vehicle.
No, it actually is. It's
okay.
It's under 30,000.
Okay.
But here, fast forward to this past weekend, we're playing actually with our other brother, and we happened to go to the Russian level because we were scouting it on your game.
Yep.
And he had his con out, so I don't know if it's a case of since he had his con out, or we went to Russia where you can buy the truck. But then when I went back to my garage in my own game solo the next day, there it was. It was back.
Really?
And it had been gone for literally a week.
That's interesting.
So this game's kind of quirky in that manner, but
yeah,
I don't know.
And going back to the replayability, there's also a huge mod section, which the people who have modded vehicles into it did a great job of any kind of vehicle you would want, like a Ford Ranger. They got it in there. They got all kinds of weird trucks as well, like amphibious vehicles and things. The problem with that is in single player, they work perfectly. I've got them to work fine. When it comes to multiplayer, every time we try to do it,
we couldn't even get into a game together.
We couldn't even join games together because there was some kind of hang up. So,
right. And we thought we had the exact same mods downloaded, so that was going to be ease of, not that, but I mean, we just could not join each other's game.
And it wasn't like I was trying to, get these OP mods that would make the game unfun. Some of them were just fun little trailers to drive around the compound to move stuff around, but,
right.
It would have been fun, but the mods just wouldn't work for some reason.
So do you want to talk about the barrel job?
The barrel job. Oh man.
Was that Smithville Dam?
I think so. So that was a nightmare.
Nick, and there's a job where you have to manually load your cargo, and there's 4 barrels kind of spread throughout the map in a very muddy terrain through water, and getting it back to the point is not as easy as it looks.
Right. The premise of the mission was that I think a shipment was on a boat or on a truck or something, but it got lost into the water, and so they scattered all over, but they're in still water, but like on banks, that are sunken.
So it's hard. It's difficult in a sense to get to the barrels where they are
because they're in water.
Right.
So you need bigger tires, bigger vehicles.
Right. And then you have to manually load them onto your vehicles.
Right. It's not like a cargo where you can just go drive into a thing and it'll just pop it into your thing. You have to have a truck with a crane of some kind or.
So the first time we tried this, because my crane vehicle is only able to carry 2 pieces of cargo, and you got 4 to pick up in this job.
Right.
So I was trying to be creative because 3 of them are in the same vicinity, and then there's one just way on the other side of the map. And I had it situated, and I had it locked down with my crane on my truck, even though it wasn't really packed onto the truck.
But he had 3.
But I had 3. The problem is the path I was going was not the path to go, because it's like narrow winding trails that are really intended for a scout vehicle.
Yeah, obviously intended for
not a crane vehicle. And we kept tipping over. We tried it like 3, 4, maybe even 5 times.
I think I tried bringing my own trucks, multiple different kinds, pulling trucks, scout vehicles, whatever, to try to recover yours. And 5, 6 times tipped over every time. Yeah. That trail was just not even fun to drive, let alone hauling 3 barrels out of there.
Yes. So fast forward to a couple days later, I'm playing the same mission on my solo game, and I figured out the path that you need to go. And essentially what it is you go back up the exact same path that you went down in, instead of trying to go in a direct motion
doing the gym jog up the weird turns.
Because we were trying to go like the direct path to the drop-off point, but really in truth you need to backtrack around and go back up.
Take the long way.
And it's still not an easy task. No. At least it's doable.
Right, because at that point we had my truck, which could hold 2 as well, so he wasn't doing his whole 3 barrel gimmick. We actually could just load them onto mine I make my trip, and then he could work on getting out of it. So.
Yeah, we did it as a team instead of me kind of working on it solo, and then you helped me out when I got in trouble.
Right, that's where that co-op really helps. Is just having somebody to come help you instead of you driving back to your facility, or not driving, but poofing back to your facility to drive another truck back to try to assist yourself. It's very difficult. So,
anything else you want to add to Snowrunner?
It's a lot of fun, even if you like just messing with your buddies. You can just winch onto them and just drag them around like a rag doll. That's always fun. I tip over quite a bit, so make sure you're going slow if you decide to play the game,
especially when the terrain is changing.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it'll tip you right over.
A big thing is weight. Whenever you load up cargo onto your truck, it's going to weigh it down. So if you're in mud, which a lot of the logging areas, you'll just sink right in. So good luck with that.
So is this a game you can recommend for people to check out?
I do. It's on Game Pass, so if you got Game Pass, it's free to play right now.
So I think that's how I recommend the game. Is I don't know if I'd recommend this if somebody's never played the series before to go out and blindly buy it, because it is
very difficult.
It's very difficult. It is kind of an expensive game in a sense where it does go on sale, but not all the time. I mean, obviously, if you're a Game Pass user, you've got the Game Pass discount, which typically is around 20%, depending on the level you're at.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have Game Pass, I highly recommend checking it out. Get into it. You obviously have a little bit of a mission to do to get started with finding your first garage. That way you can then jump into the co-op mode. But co-op is where the fun is at.
Right.
If you can get past the glitchiness of co-op mode.
Yeah. And like you said, the tutorial is a little long-winded to be able to play with each other, but definitely pay attention because all that stuff you'll need to know. So
yeah. So I love Snowrunner. Snowrunner is excellent. It basically improved everything that MudRunner needed to be improved on. Yep. There is another game in the Spin Tire series, which is Expeditions. Unfortunately, people have been complaining about it because it's a glitchy mess. Go figure. Because Snowrunner has been out since 2020, and it's still technically got some weird glitches.
And the most recent update we don't think we mentioned was the anniversary update for Snowrunner. I think it was like 20 gigabytes. So they included quite a bit of stuff, but still not working correctly.
Right. Yeah, it's like, hey, we don't need new content. We just need you to fix
the stuff that's there.
The stuff that's there. Yeah. So yeah, that's another glitch I was just thinking about when you're in co-op mode. Is like the terrain below you just goes clear and disappears, and then you think, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to drop off a cliff.
Yeah, we were playing with our buddy Daniel, and he's like, there's just a big hole in the middle of the road. I'm like, oh, what happened? What'd you do? And he's like, yeah, you should come see this. And I was expecting some kind of quarry or something, No, it was just the game just bugging out.
Yep. And you can drive right over it, but
there's a hole.
So. Well, anyways, this is our experience with Snowrunner. I believe we'll continue to play this. We've got 3 other friends that we've been playing online with, so we're always getting a multiplayer session going. We're really enjoying this game. It is available even on like the current gen of Series X, as well as PS5, and then the last gen of PS4 and PS3 and Switch.
And like we mentioned, they're still putting out
original Xbox One,
right,
and then Switch.
And they're still putting out content. So, if you're into the whole, DLC, add new trucks, new levels and stuff, there's tons of that, tons of replayability. Yeah. So.
Well, this is Open by Accident. We appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed this review and experience of Snowrunner. Definitely check it out if you got Game Pass. And we will see you on the next one.
Take it easy, everybody.